Hello. Before we start, I have around 150 hours in the official release game already and also played the preview event, Alpha, CBT, and finally the OBT as well. Why? Because I like playing MMOs, really. That's really all there is to it. I've done every single piece of endgame content, including killing the Siren, the Spriggan, and both Lazarus and Garden of Genesis dungeons. On top of that, we've owned Everfall and Ebonscale since launch and conquered Brightwood on a very competitive server, without ever losing a single war, by the way. And finally, wrote 2 huge feedback posts back in the preview event and in the open beta. Now let's talk about the actual rating, and we'll start with the positives first. So my overall rating, as you probably saw from the thumbnail, is a 3.5, and I'll get into that now. New World gets its first point by having a clean surface level polish. The audio-visual feedback of chopping wood, mining ore, or even hitting mobs is great. The lighting and the graphical immersion does a pretty good job as well. The second point goes to the life skills and professions of New World. Not because they're perfect by any means, but because they tie into point number 1 very well. You can play this game like RuneScape completionism style from the start, and work your way up slowly while also providing useful things for your friends and guilds. Life skills do have a lot of flaws, as for example, the incredible need for tier 1 materials such as raw hide. Higher tier materials are worth way less than the stuff you can get on level 1, which obviously doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's how it's designed at the moment. There's no real progression in gathering things, as to even make use of high-end gathered materials, you will need 10 times the amount of tier 1 materials than higher level ones. There's more to say about this, but I will leave it at that. I think life skills are a great avenue for most players, and if you are into that kind of content, New World will probably actually be a great game for you. Third point goes to a seamless open world. I'm a big fan of the Sandbox approach to MMOs, and New World does a decent job at delivering such a product. Players have direct influence over the world, which ties into the last half point, which is territory wars. Just this feature will keep me playing for longer than I want to, just because it allows my guild and I to compete and make a name for ourselves on our server. It's fun to have an impact on the world's progression systems, and overall it's just a great avenue to express your competitive side of things. By the way, territory wars are also incredibly bugged though, and laggy at times. So laggy in fact that the turrets didn't work for the first week, which by the way was a reoccurring bug from the beta. Turned out that it was actually the server not being able to handle the bullets properly, so now they kind of reworked like the bullet travel time and so on. Nowadays it's actually just hit scan, so they changed it now so it actually works, but yeah, this bug has been a thing for a long time. So now into the more ranty part of things, okay? In the first few hours of playing, you will probably enjoy the surface level polish, and you feel pretty immersed. Well, not for long. Let's talk about mob variety, or rather, the lack thereof. We have turkeys, and then we have turkeys, and then we have turkeys with some more feathers, but they still drop the same stuff. We also have zombies. Pirate zombies, like red cum zombies or something, plant zombies, and last but not least, skeleton zombies. Most of these mobs share similar animations, most of which are actually taken directly from player abilities as well. Once you reach around level 30 to 40, mobs don't really change anymore. That includes high-end elite areas, by the way, and also dungeons. Most dungeon mobs are the exact same as like level 10 area mobs. It's incredibly lazy on all fronts, really, just like the entire skill tree system and overall the toolkit provided by your character. Your character basically stops changing once your weapon is around level 12 or so. Everything beyond that is just basically you swapping the weapon around. Obviously there's some traits here and there that may alter your gameplay a little bit, but it's so minor in most cases that it's honestly just incredibly boring very quickly. On top of that, this lazy content or this lazy design philosophy is a problem throughout the entire game, as it's littered with bugs, from small ones like resources not disappearing when harvesting them, to pretty huge bugs that literally break your game, kick you out of it and make you sit in a queue for hours. Or, for example, the Azoth staff number 5 that you get for finishing the main quest line, which you need to actually complete high-end breaches, just doesn't work. Straight up, like you can't do high-end breaches at the moment because the staff is bugged, and that has not been a problem in previous iterations of this game as far as I know. But now it is a problem, so like there's a lot of these really big bugs that make you not really want to keep playing in that sense. You literally can't finish those breaches, as I said, or sometimes maybe you can't respawn. Or even better, you're partaking in a siege, get teleported out of the siege to go into the nearest town, which in this case was Everfall, with other enemy players from the siege, and then you can fight those players inside Everfall, and your cooldowns are also not working anymore. How can it be more scuffed? Why am I back here? This is the wrong place. Why can't I attack people in Everfall? What is happening? I have no cooldowns. This bug was actually so big that I couldn't enter the siege anymore, and I was locked out of the siege for 30 minutes, and I couldn't play the game at all for 30 minutes. What about the dog shit gearing system that throws millions of garbage ass pieces your way, and once you actually get something valuable, even in a dungeon, you can't even trade it with anyone, not even with your dungeon like group mates or anything. We had a legendary amulet drop in closed beta, which was a tanking amulet, but the player who dropped it was a healer, so he salvaged it. It was completely useless to him, he couldn't give it to our tank, felt horrible. I've done a week's worth of endgame dungeons and elite areas at the moment and have not gotten a single proper upgrade. Why? Because gear score drops are determined by how long you have grinded gear, not by your actual gear score or by the difficulty of the content you're doing. So if you want good items, just grind open world elite areas for like 2 weeks with 10 plus people without any challenge or engagement. Great design. Speaking of design, all of the endgame boss fights are a fucking joke. And I'm not exaggerating here. With having a maximum of like 2 mechanics per boss and just being damage sponges essentially, like you just hit on those things until they die. It takes like 10 minutes. There's no real like engagement happening whatsoever, okay? And then once you have actually killed the boss after 10 minutes of left clicking, you then get rewarded by like some gray boots or some green like dexterity life staff or something, you know? It feels horrible. All of the end game like PvE stuff feels just awful straight up. Not to mention that the basic combat of New World gets incredibly boring rather quickly as well. The weird auto aim like mechanic on melee attacks, the inconsistent projectiles of ranged attacks, plus the weird crosshair placement, which is way too low if you didn't notice that already. And also those different sensitivity settings for like aiming and like musket, like zooming in and so on. Also super weird and a big like oversight, really. On top of that, you have insane performance issues on most systems, really. Pretty low FPS in general, and stuttering and lagging every now and then doesn't help the situation at all. Did I mention the worst character customization in MMO history? Or the worst mob AI I've ever seen in my life? Have we talked about Amazon not able to actually implement a grace period for the queue system? So if you're out of the queue, you're basically done for the day. At least, I mean, that was at least the case in the beginning. What about swimming? In a game centered around pirates, swamps, and islands? Why? I'm a sailor, I think, lore-wise, and I can't swim? Why is there an Azoth cap or a repair kit cap? Why is running away the best open world PvP strategy? Why is the chat such a mess? And why is it laggy on top of all that? Or what about this bug? When you get encumbered and you're just walking at normal speed and it doesn't look bugged at all. Why are there no raid groups? There are plenty of raid-sized activities in the game, right? Why can't you spam report people to get them banned? And through all of this, I didn't even mention quests yet, guys. I didn't even touch on quests. Even if you would eliminate all the bugs the game currently has, it would still not be higher than a 4 out of 10 probably. Anyways, I will sum up the game in one sentence before I go. On a surface level, New World is doing fine. But the moment you go a little bit deeper, it falls apart. Is it worth your 40 euros? I don't know, man. Make your own decisions. I'm not your fucking dad, okay? Anyways, thanks for watching. If you have a different opinion and you think New World is the next big MMORPG, and it's excellent, and we are all ungrateful pieces of shit for critiquing it, then please leave a comment down below so I can actively and intentionally ignore you. Thanks for watching. Peace.